Hey, Lyndon, Tommy Givens here, professor of the course. Great to have you in the class and wanted to send along a video reply here in week one as we get our conversation started. Gives me a chance to say hello a little more directly and welcome to the course and to give you some feedback on what you've written in the response forums in week one, which is excellent, by the way, in both cases. And so, a couple highlights I want to make here briefly. First of all, your sense that the the history of the people of Israel is full of expectation and anticipation of peace with Gentile peoples. This is something that I think is sometimes neglected in the Christian tradition, where we imagine that before the coming of Jesus, Israel was some kind of homogenous, uh, sealed off community that was in nothing but hostility with Gentile peoples. But as the genealogy itself remembers, with some of David's mothers, who are also Jesus's mothers, um, the family of Israel was always capable of welcoming people from among the Gentiles into its family, into its inheritance. And this means Gentile people coming from all over the world, from people that are close to Israel, like the Moabites, as the case of Ruth, or you might remember Moses's Ethiopian wife. Again and again, we see that as uh, difficult as Israel's relationships with surrounding peoples often were, it was not only hostility that characterized those relationships. And that's what is a kind of anticipation of a future of peace, really thorough peace in the relationship between Israel and other peoples. So I'm glad you're just seeing that. I also wanted to say in the genealogy, in your second response forum, I loved how you just spent a few lines giving us some of the story of these mothers of Jesus that are highlighted. So often they are reduced to being, questionable people, sexually deviant perhaps, and by God's grace welcomed into the genealogy of Jesus's family. But you have shown that that's not really fair to those women's memory. In fact, they were each courageous, faithful, vigorous advocates for their lives, their families, in circumstances that were extremely difficult and in several cases really complicated by Israelite men of renown. So the wife of Uriah the Hittite, for example, the fact that she is named that way in the genealogy recalls perhaps one of the worst moments of uh, David the king's life and memory, when he basically raped this woman and then murdered her husband. And she went on to be a courageous advocate for her son Solomon, a counselor to David and to others. Um, so there's just a lot that is lost if we reduce these mothers of Jesus to something questionable and deviant that God just sort of mercifully overlooks or something to welcome them into Jesus's family. So that's another highlight there from the second response forum that you've written. And I think that is an insightful sort of thing that you've done. Maybe one other thing I'll leave you with is the tendency that we have for understandable reasons in the Christian tradition is to really emphasize the mission that Israel is on to other peoples, and by extension, the mission that the church that Jesus begins to build in Israel has to the rest of Israel and to other peoples as well in Matthew. And there's certainly a needed dimension to Israel's life in that. But I worry a little bit that that emphasis leads us to kind of instrumentalize the people of God so that what we are called to do is primarily about what God is doing for other people. And as important as that is, it's important. It's also significant to see that uh, Israel's life is about enjoying God's presence, being a home for God's presence in the world. It's about healing in their own life, a quality of relationship with each other, with land that God calls them to enjoy and empowers them to enjoy. And by extension, I would say Christian discipleship too is certainly about serving other people, calling other people to follow Jesus, but it is also about enjoying the presence of Jesus, about delighting in one another, in the gifts that God has given us in Christ to be healed, to be inspired by each other, to just relish being together. These are really crucial dimensions, I think, of the life of the people of God that can sometimes be compromised or minimized if Israel is reduced to just a vehicle for something that God is doing for others, other peoples. So, hope that's helpful. You'll see in Matthew's gospel that some of these themes come out very strongly. Um, Jesus doesn't actually relate to a lot of Gentile people in Matthew's gospel, but that doesn't mean that what he's doing isn't uh, sort of meaningful for Gentile peoples. It means that the life that he has come to nurture in Israel is itself the hope of Gentile peoples, even as it is for the blessing of Israel itself. Thanks again for some great work in week one. Looking forward to more conversation with you throughout the term, and welcome to the course.